Trinity has been proud to call Connecticut and the City of Hartford its home for more than 2 centuries. Since 1823, Trinity and Hartford have shared an interconnected history together, and both pledge to continue to work together for the common good. Please join me in welcoming the Mayor of the City of Hartford, the Honorable Arunan Arulampalam. Mr. Mayor.
Well, thank you. I bring greetings from the City of Hartford, and I would be remiss if I didn't mention that I'm joined by my Special Assistant, Allison Rao, who's a recent graduate of Trinity, by my Chief Operating Officer, Shay Ajayi, who's also a graduate of Trinity and serves on the Board of Trustees. And Michael Lugo was an intern with us this summer, so I think he kind of straddles the fence as well. It's also really important to me. In the 200 years of Trinity's history, there have only been 22 presidents up until this point. And the inauguration of this 23rd president is a historic day, not just for Trinity, but for the City of Hartford, because the stories of Trinity and the City of Hartford are so deeply intertwined. In fact, 200 years ago, it was Hartford residents and businesses that put up the seed money for the creation of Trinity. And 50 years after that, it was created in our downtown. It was an agreement between the City of Hartford and Trinity that allowed for the purchase of that original parcel and the moving of Trinity up to this hill to create a state capital. In fact, that was one of the pivotal decisions as the state was deciding whether Hartford or New Haven would be its capital that made Hartford the capital city of this state. So you could very well say that Hartford is responsible for the creation of Trinity, and Trinity is responsible for Hartford being the state capital of this state. That is an incredible history of coexistence and mutual benefit. But as this beautiful campus was built, it was built up on this hill. And you can see very intentionally from the design, it was built to look out over the City of Hartford so that there is always a deep connection there. In fact, many of you know, am a resident of this neighborhood and lived on Vernon Street for many years, and would walk my dog across that hill by the long walk and look out over one of the best views, I think, of our skyline. And it's a constant reminder, a physical reminder, of the very best of a liberal arts education, one that is separated enough to allow students the space to grow and mature, to learn and find their own voice, to create their own thoughts and ideas, but still deeply connected to the challenges of today, still deeply connected to the city in which it exists and to the realities in which you are preparing those students to face. They are not being prepared to live in that bubble forever. They're deeply connected to reality. And when you do that well, you create great leaders. And the very best of those leaders are ones who are able to re-enter that reality and still have the space to think differently, to think creatively, to be unique, and to bring that uniqueness into the world around them to solve the greatest challenges that we face. And I think one of those such leaders is Dan Lugo. I've gotten to know him actually quite a bit in the few months that he's been here in the City of Hartford. And I've gotten to know somebody who I think is an innovative, compassionate, and visionary leader. To the Board of Trustees, I will say, coming off of 200 years, a really impressive and historic 200 years of Trinity, you didn't rest on your laurels. You sought to build something for the next 100 years. And I think about where Trinity as an institution and the City of Hartford are going over the next 100 years. In 100 years, Trinity will be 300 and the city will be 500 years old. And that is incredible history, and it's important to stay rooted in that history. It's important to stay clear-eyed about the challenges of the present. I think the invocation talked about unprecedented challenges that we face in the world around us. But it's also important to stay stubbornly focused on the opportunity and hope of the future. And that's who I believe this president to be. In fact, within weeks of him getting into this role, we started working together on this AI center that we're creating in the City of Hartford. This new technology causes a lot to be fearful of the future and what it might bring. My role in the City of Hartford is to make sure that our residents aren't left behind by the innovation of tomorrow. And Dan Lugo is right there with me. In fact, all of the colleges in our state are involved in this center, and all of the major corporations in our downtown. But Trinity's at the front of the line. because he sees the hope and opportunity of training up a workforce that's ready to take on the challenges of tomorrow. Great leaders lean into challenge because they see opportunity in the midst of that challenge. And for the 100 years ahead, I'm so hopeful for where this institution is going and what we can achieve together. In fact, President Lugo said recently, publicly, that the success of Trinity is dependent on the success of Hartford. I believe the opposite is also true. For 200 years, we have been invested in the success of Trinity because it has so much to do with the future of the city of Hartford. And for 200 years in the future, we will continue to be. Thank you all so much.